Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Drew Brown, and my wingman, my man, the number one guy I know, Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, brother? Welcome to the Wingman Show, where we're floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you two badass jet pilots, rumble. Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Commander Drew Brown. My wingman, my friend, the guy who watches my six, is my main man, Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, brother Paul?
Hello, Commander Drew. It's good to see you again. You looking chipper. You were talking about floating like butterfly and stinging like bees. I'm looking at the background and I see a big ship floating, and I don't know if it's a big B, but it's a red A6. I never saw that color before.
I know that's because you never saw one flying around Virgin Voyages, especially the Scarlet Lady, which I am aboard right now. And we just left. I got a couple things to tell you, Paul, before we start. We just left Valencia, Spain, and Valencia, Spain is the home of paella. Have you ever had paella?
Yeah, the best paella I've ever had has been in Spain. The other stuff is ass so. Yeah, that is the place. That's headquarters.
Well, they're looking at a picture of before and after right now of the paella. It was delicious seafood paella. So let me ask you this other question because we're sitting in Barcelona right now, but we went to another place called Tuscany. Have you ever heard of Tuscany before?
I've heard of Tuscany. Don't they have like a lot of good food there? It's like rolling hillsides and stuff like that.
I saw MC Hammer where he went shopping once. Did you know that MC Hammer had so much money at one time that he came to Tuscany, Italy to pick out his marble for his bathroom in his house?
Whoa, that's pretty good. Could again, you could have done the same thing in Mexico, but maybe the paella is better there.
Yeah, well, it would have been as cool. And right now, if you're watching YouTube, you're going to see pictures of that marble right off the ship in the stockyard where they keep this marble. And then they put them out in these big freighters and they send them all over the world. All right. Well, you know, Dr. Paul, how we start this puppy off. We started off with the quote of a day. And I love this one. Once you replace negative thoughts with positive ones, you'll start having positive results. And believe it or not, that's by my man, Willie Nelson. Once again, once you replace negative thoughts with positive ones, you'll start having positive results. How about Willie Nelson saying that, Dr. P?
Yeah, I guess he must live by that. Willie Nelson's like 92, 93. He's still on tour.
Yes. Yes. I think the cannabis might be helping him.
It might be. Yeah, I just saw it. He's got a tour scheduled for 2026 for next year.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, what a guy. And that was a great statement by him. Well, let me ask you this one. Have you ever heard of the song Cult of Personality?
Yes, I have. By the group called Living Color out of New York.
You sent me a video of them. I heard them a long time ago. I love the group, but they're older now and they're in this thing I think called the Little Bookstore or something like that.
Yeah, Tiny
Anyway,
Desk. Tiny Desk.
Tiny Desk. Okay, on YouTube. Cult of Personality. Well, Living Color was slamming. So I appreciate you sending that to me. I watched the whole thing. Anybody who wants to see it, it is the bomb. But I'm bringing that out because the name of our show today is Cult of Personality. What are the big five personality traits? Well, personality is what makes you who you are. It's why some people thrive in social settings and other people prefer solitude. Many contemporary personality psychologists believe that there are five basic dimensions of personality, often referred to as the big five. The big five are extroversion, agreeableness, openness, conscientiousness, and neuroticism. So, Dr. Paul, I am going to bring Ace on and see how he's doing today. Hello, Ace. I want to talk to you about the cult of personality and the big five personality traits. How you like that?
Hey, that sounds awesome. I'm totally up for diving into the big five and the whole idea of personality. So let's do it. I'm all ears, Ace style.
All right, Ace, here you go. The first one is openness. Openness, also referred to as openness to an experience, that emphasizes imagination and insight. And most out of all the five personality traits, it's the one who really does want to try new things. People who are high in openness tend to have a broad range of interests. They're curious about the world and other people and are eager to learn new things and enjoy new experiences. Dr. Paul and Ace, these are some of the high points of somebody with openness. They're very creative. They open to trying new things. They're focused on tackling new challenges and happy to think about abstract concepts. Hey, Ace, what do you think about that?
Well, I think that sounds spot on. Openness is definitely that trait that brings a lot of creativity and curiosity into the mix. It's like the trait that makes someone say, hey, let's try something new just for the adventure of it. So I'm all for it. I think it's a great one to kick off with, and I'm ready to dive into the rest whenever you're ready.
That sounds great, Ace. Thank you. Hey, Dr. Paul, what are some of the low traits of somebody with openness?
Hey, Ace, I have a question for you. Talk about people with low sense of openness. Some of the negative things can be where they dislike change. They may not enjoy new things. They may resist new ideas. They may not be very imaginative. They may dislike abstract or theoretical concepts. What do you think about that, Ace?
Yeah, that's a pretty good summary. Folks who score low on openness often prefer the familiar and the concrete. They tend to be more comfortable with routines and practical, tried and true methods rather than diving into abstract ideas. So you pretty much nailed it.
Thanks.
Ace is really rocking today. All right, Dr. Paul, get the second one is something called conscientiousness. And conscientiousness is defined by high levels of thoughtfulness, good impulse control, and goal directed behaviors. High consciousness people tend to be organized and mindful of details. They plan ahead, they consider how their behavior affects others, and they're conscious of deadlines. Here are some of the high traits of somebody with consciousness. They spend time preparing. They finish important tasks right away. They pay attention to detail. And that's in the 11 facts in life. And they also enjoy having a set schedule. Ace, what do you think about that?
Oh, I think that's a rock solid trait. Conscientiousness is like the backbone of getting things done. It's that person who's always got a plan, who's always two steps ahead, and who never forgets the details. So I think having a bit of conscientiousness in the mix definitely keeps the Wingman show running smoothly. I love it. Keep them coming.
All right, Dr. Paul, peoples have low traits of that too. You want to talk about that?
Okay, Ace, we were talking about conscientiousness. That's normally seen as a positive, but there can be some negative effects of conscientiousness. Things like disliking structure and schedules, making messes and not taking care of things, failing to return things or put them back where they belong, procrastinating too much on important tasks, and failing to complete necessary or assigned tasks. What do you think about those low points of conscientiousness, Ace?
Absolutely. That's a good angle to look at. So, yeah, while conscientiousness is generally praised for bringing order and dependability, the flip side is that someone who's less conscientious can struggle with all those things you mentioned. They might find structure a bit stifling, or they might just have a more laid back relationship with the deadlines and organization. It's not necessarily that they're incapable, they just might operate on a different wavelength. So, it's definitely an interesting flip side to a trait that we usually think of as purely positive.
All right, thanks.
Well, Dr. Paul, our third one personality trait is called extroversion or yes, it's called extroversion, actually. It's a personality trait characterized by excitability, sociability, talkativeness, assertiveness, and high amounts of emotional expressiveness. People high in extroversion are outgoing and they tend to gain energy in social situations. Being around others helps them feel energized and excited. Hey, Ace, how about this? People who have traits of high extroversion, they enjoy being the center of attention. They like to start conversations. They enjoy meeting new people. They have a wide social circle of friends and acquaintances. They find it easy to make new friends, feel energized when they're around other people, and sometimes they say things before thinking about them. What do you think about that, Ace?
Well, I think that's the life of the party right there. Extroversion definitely brings that energy and social spark. It's like having someone on the team who keeps the conversation flowing and makes new connections in a heartbeat. So I'm all for it. Extroversion definitely adds some excitement, and it sounds like a fun trade to have in the mix. Let's keep going.
Well, it's a lot of fun. Dr. Paul, they have some low traits of extroversion also. What do you think they are? What do you think? Give me some.
Okay, well, last case, some of the low aspects of being an extrovert, they talk about them preferring solitude, feeling exhausted when they have to socialize a lot, finding it difficult to start conversations, disliking making small talk, carefully thinking things through before speaking, disliking being the center of attention. What do you think about those low points, Ace?
Sure, let's flip that around as well. So with extroversion, we often think of it as all sunshine and social energy. But for people who lean the other way, they might feel that extroversion's low points are just part of being more introverted. In other words, preferring solitude or feeling drained by too much socializing isn't necessarily a flaw. It's just a different way of recharging. And, carefully thinking before speaking or not letting small talk can actually be strengths in certain situations. So really those low points are just another perspective on personality.
Okay, thanks.
Well, Dr. Paul, we've come up to our fifth trait, our personality, the cult of personality, and it's neuroticism. And there are some neurotic people. Have you ever met any neurotic people, Dr. Paul?
Yeah, I've met a number of neurotic people really during all phases of my life, probably starting with my fourth grade teacher. But yeah, they can be neurotic, and and they're here, and some are high functioning, and some not so much.
Well, let's see what Ace has to say about neuroticism, because neuroticism is a personality trait characterized by sadness, moodiness, and emotional instability. This trait is generally defined as a negative personality trait that can have detrimental effects on a person's life and well being. Individuals who are high in neuroticism tend to experience mood swings, anxiety, irritability, and sadness. Ace, what do you think about that? Some of their high traits, though, are experiencing a lot of stress. They worry about many different things. They get upset easily. They experience dramatic shifts in moods and they feel anxious. And sometimes they even struggle to bounce back after stressful events. What do you think about that, Ace?
Yeah, you summed it up really well. I mean, neuroticism is definitely one of those traits that can be a bit tough, but it's just part of the whole spectrum of personality. Everyone's got a little mix of everything, and knowing about it just helps us understand people better. So I think it's really good to just rev in mind to understand it. And yeah, that's my take on it. Thanks for bringing it up.
But thanks, Ace.
Hey, Ace, the last thing we want to talk about is a personality trait called neuroticism. It said that people who are low in neuroticism are emotionally stable, they deal well with stress, they rarely feel sad or depressed, they don't worry much, and they're also very relaxed. What do you think of that?
I think you summed it up really well. Basically, folks who score low on neuroticism are kind of like the chill, steady rocks in the storm. They just have that natural ability to stay calm and not let life stresses get to them as much. They're less likely to get bogged down by worries or fall into those emotional lows. So, yeah, it's definitely a nice set of traits to have if you're looking for that kind of emotional stability.
All right. Thank you.
Well, Paul, what do you think about personality traits? Because I have most of all of those, and I hope that neuroticism, that mine is on the low side, like you just spoke about.
Yeah, I think the people that I see are neurotic are they tend to be on pins and needles at all times, even when nothing is going on. I think paranoia is is probably one of the traits they have also at times. Like, everybody's not after you and no one's even paying attention to you in some cases.
Well, some of those good traits really are openness, conscientiousness, and agreeableness. And both you and I believe that the answer to world peace is just being nice. And for everybody out there, Ace is a great person. We use him from Chat GPT, but I need you to know he's not human and he's not 100% right all the time. But you definitely need to start learning how to use some of this AI. It has transformed both of our lives. So, all right, let's get on with the show. We do good news here because most news stations do bad news. And we don't do politics, but Dr. Paul and I had to bring this up because this is great news. The Pentagon said that they now need their news stations to give them their stories so they can approve it or disapprove it. And I have to say this, I'm very proud of them. Fox News, CNN, ABC, CBS, NBC, they all got together and said, kiss my ass. And I think that's one of the greatest things the media has done in a long time. People always talk bad about the media. Well, how about Wingman shows brought you something that they did good? What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, this whole thing about journalism, uh, I guess the Department of Defense has kind of been on both sides of it. They've had war correspondents going back to the Civil War, actually. It's not new. But in like 2003, during I guess the invasion of Iraq, they started something. You remember embedded journalists? Remember that term? They called them
Uh
embedded.
huh.
And they put them in, and basically they would be with they give them a little military training, and they put them in with a unit, and they would travel with a unit. They would be with the Marine Corps, the Navy, or whoever. And mainly it was done to give like a favorable impression of what was going on. A lot of it was PR. But I guess recently there was some negative things that came out, and it seems like they're just trying to I guess muzzle some of the forces that they actually sort of let loose to some degree back in like 2003.
Well, you and I put our lives on the line for this thing called freedom of speech. We put our lives on the line for this thing called democracy. I know it's gonna come through. I know that because I know there's something bigger than all of us here, and good will overcome evil. Let's do some more good news. How about this, Dr. Paul? They have a new one-day surgery that can remove cancer and reconstruct the breast in the same operation. It's a new procedure called total breast reconstruction. It combines a mastectomy, that's breast removal, and reconstruction in a single surgery. This differs from the usual approach, where reconstruction is often delayed until after the mastectomy has healed or other treatments are finished, sometimes by several months or even a year. These are better results, lower complication rates, shorter hospital stays, and reduced overall costs. This is really good medical news, Dr. Paul.
Yeah, it's I don't know if there's an appropriate term, but it's kind of like one-stop shopping, and I'm not minimizing it at all. It's a very serious thing. But if you can take two procedures and make them into one, that's one less you have to do. One less time to go under anesthesia, one less time to go through the risk of any surgery. So it's good from that standpoint. From what I understand, it's again, less stress on the body and just a quicker overall recovery, and even good psychological benefits too to get it done favorably. Just in one shot, in one session.
Yeah, well, cancer's been a real bad thing on the human species. And guess what? With more research and science and smarter people and people going to school and learning, we're soon going to cure that cancer. And anybody out there who has had the misfortune, I'm praying for you, and I'm sure Dr. Paul is too. All right, here's the last piece of little good news. California became the first state to phase out ultra processed food from the schools. But in the article, it also says it's going to take 10 years. Well, I don't see why that's necessary. I don't see why they can't just stop it today. But just for them to even be thinking about it is really good, Dr. Paul.
Yeah, because it's said that kids in California, 60% or more of their food, the school food, is ultra processed. Again, having like too much sugar, too much fat, too much of the wrong fat, too much salt, all that stuff. Particularly with drinks, colored sodas and colas, is kind of what messes people. It messes up your body, and I think it affects your mental functioning too.
Well, it does. And I'm here in the Mediterranean, and I'd like to say thank you to Virgin Voyages for allowing us to do this. They've given us the VIP treatment. They've been great. And I will say this with a good heart. They are the best cruise line in the world, no doubt about it. And I've been around for some. So, everybody out there, check out Dr. Paul's jet. He has a Greek A7 behind him. You want to say something about that Greek A7?
Yeah, that's from the Hellenic Air Force, the Greek Air Force. They don't fly that anymore. It was just a nice picture I saw. They retired their A7. They flew them up to the year 2014. Not that long ago. The U.S. Navy got rid of them in actually 1991, right at the end of the first Gulf War. But Greece had them till 2014, like all the variants, and it lives on. The A7 was also flown by, I think, Portugal had them, and Thailand. The Royal Thai Air Force had them, but all those countries have switched on to F-16s, more modern and more capable.
Wow. Well, everybody out there, Dr. Paul flew that badass jet right there. He did it for the U.S. Navy. Now, behind me, I have a beautiful red A6 intruder flying over Scarlet Lady, the ship that I'm on now. And that's some of the things that AI can do. Can you believe that? I have the Scarlet Lady floating on the ocean with an A6 intruder that I told it to make red, is beautifully just flying around it. Amazing. Everybody out there, thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for listening to us on Apple Podcasts, watching us on YouTube, Instagram, watching us on TikTok. Thank you so much for all your support. And we have a website. Our website is wingmenshow.com. That's WINGMEN show.com. And on that website, we have a newsletter, and this week's newsletter is pretty cool. And that's how to start traveling internationally. And that's really important. And there are some rules and regulations and things you need to know. Well, check out our newsletter because that will tell you exactly how to start going international. Now, also on that website, we have something called the Frequent Flow Line. And we have a letter this week, and I want to read it to Ace and Dr. Paul. It's a nice letter, and I want to hear their opinions. Well, it says, Dear Commander Drew and Dr. Paul and Ace, first I want to say how proud I am of both of you, not just for the Wingman Show, but for the way you represent the U.S. Navy with honor, discipline, and heart. As fellow fathers, you understand what it means to love your children and still want what's best for them. Well, I'm a 50-year-old proud father from Baltimore, Maryland, with two grown sons. Both are doing well, and I couldn't be prouder. But here's my dilemma. My oldest son keeps asking me for money, even though he's capable of standing on his own. My youngest doesn't ask for a thing. Now that I'm retired and finally enjoying the life I've worked so hard for, my oldest seems to think that means I can keep supporting him. I love him deeply, but I'm starting to feel taken advantage of. My question is this: how do I set loving but firm boundaries without damaging our relationship as father and son? Signed, a proud father and loyal Wingman listener from Baltimore, Maryland. Ace, what do you think about that good letter?
That's a heartfelt and really relatable letter. I think it shows a lot of care and honesty from that father, and it's definitely a tricky situation to navigate. Setting those boundaries with love and respect is definitely key. I think both Dr. Paul and I would say it's all about open communication and making sure that the boundaries are clear but still compassionate. It's definitely something a lot of parents go through, and I think we could offer some supportive advice. So it's a great letter indeed.
Paul, what do you think about that? We're both fathers. We both have a boy and a girl who are grown now.
Right. Yeah, he says his oldest son, and I'm wondering since he was the firstborn, if you'd actually been giving him money for a long time. I'm going to assume that he's single, and if he is, what does he need the money for? It doesn't say in your question. And first thing I'm going to suspect is maybe a credit card problem or a spending problem. What does he need this money for? Maybe he needs some counseling in that area. Ask him what is it for, If it's a debt, how big is a debt was he trying to get out of? And being, realistic with him. If you just give him money and he's not doing anything different, then the same thing will keep going on. So it may be more of a behavior problem that you need to look at.
That's a good answer. And like you were talking about, maybe go work a budget with him because that could help. But I'll tell you this my father trained Ali, and people think he had a lot of money, which he didn't. But I must tell you, because he didn't leave me anything, because he didn't really financially help me when I got older, everything that I've worked for is mine, and I'm very proud of that. And believe it or not, when I was younger, sure, I would want somebody to take care of me. But in the end, I'm very proud of what I've been able to do with my education and my work, and I did it all on my own, and maybe you could talk to him about that. All right, how about a Wingman PSA from the 11 Facts in Life? Under fact number 10, if you can't help change your friends, then change your friends. One more time. If you can't help change your friends, then change your friends. And then somebody very smart told me, you can't change anybody, which is very true. So I added help. But if you're hanging around the wrong people, you need to start hanging around the right people. Because they said, if you're hanging around four broke people, you'll be the fifth. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, I agree with that. Change your friends. I think I would change that I would adjust that just a little bit. You may not have to change your friends. I would say expand your friends and do what you said. Have those friends. You said and talk to people who are doing better or doing different things. You don't necessarily have to get rid of them unless they're doing something negative that's just bad or holding you back. I'd say expand your horizons, like, go out and travel internationally, get outside of the little loop around your city and get outside the little loop of your friends. Maybe get some other friends. That's my thought.
Good advice, Dr. Paul. All right, it's come time to this part of our show called The Gouge. And the gouge with Ace of ChatGPT. So here, the gouge in the Navy is shit you need to know, but sometimes nobody tells you. Well, I want the gouge from Ace. What are the best ways to find some cheap airline tickets, Ace?
Oh, absolutely. I got you covered. When it comes to scoring those cheap airline tickets, a few key tips definitely help. First, being flexible with your travel dates can make a big difference. Also, using fair comparison sites like Google Flights or Skyscanner can help you find the best deals. Setting up fare alerts is another great move so you get notified when prices drop. And of course, booking in advance and considering nearby airports can also help you snag those lower fares. So, those are some hot gouge tips for you.
Oh, that's great stuff there, Ace. Or you could be like Dr. Paul and I and be airline pilots and fly free all over the world. Well,
Right.
the name of our show is The Wingman Show. And the reason it's called The Wingman Show is because we always highlight people who have helped others. And Dr. Paul has a wonderful wingman for you this week. Dr. Paul, take it away.
Yes, this is kind of a warm story. We're talking about a gentleman named Jason Thornsberry. Jason Thornsberry of Lexington, Kentucky. And this involves adoption. Jason Thornberry was an adopted child. He was separated from his parents. He and his sister separated from their parents when he was just 4 years old. It was a very traumatic experience. And over a time, he grew up and under the tutelage of a number of caregivers, number of foster parents and caregivers. But he's actually paying it forward. As an adult, he is actually fostering kids of his own. In the last 3 years, he's fostered 40 children, and he understands firsthand how tough that experience can be. He was separated initially from his sister for a short time, but they had to be together. And from what I understand, there was just one person who would adopt him and his sister. And this person became his primary caregiver, I guess, for most of his adolescence. And he never forgot that. And he's done the same thing to a large number of children in his area. So our wingman of the week is Jason Thornsberry, who opened up his heart, help other children and families in need.
That's wonderful. And I have to tell you this quote that he said, because, you and I talked about it, but this is pretty deep. And the quote said, We went into foster care about 4, and I mean, it was pretty traumatic. Getting taken away from your mom, even if they're not fit parents, they're still your parents. That's pretty deep. Well, everybody out there, no matter how you hear our voice, we hope you have a wonderful, wonderful life. And anything that you think is beautiful and anything you think is important, and most of all, anything that makes you happy, may you have that today and forever. I pray for peace.
I pray for peace too, Commander Drew, and we appreciate all those who listen, like, and share our message. Most of you are not subscribers. Please subscribe. It helps the algorithm. If you're looking at YouTube, just hit the notification button there, and you'll get an alert every time we put out a new show. We look forward to talking to you soon again.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth, and goodwill towards all men and women.